This is Doug Green, and I'm the publisher of Telecom Reseller, and I'm very pleased to have with us today Blake Wetzel of AIQ. Blake, thank you for joining me today.
Doug, thanks for having us.
Well, it's always my great pleasure to bring to the readers new ideas, new services, things they haven't really seen before, and new approaches to doing things in an innovative way. And I think that is going to be our podcast today. So before we dive into that, what is AIQ?
Uh, Doug, AIQ is a 20-plus-year-old private company that has been servicing enterprise customers and reducing expense, optimizing their EBITDA, optimizing their enterprise value. And we do that through a very patented process, which is around running reverse auctions for IT and IT-related services. The great thing is it's on average over a decade. We have actually been saving clients on average 40% of their IT spend, and doing that not through the areas that we've been seeing today, which is reducing a headcount, et cetera, but in getting their IT spend to where the market is and where they should be in the market.
Blake, you just used an interesting term. What is a reverse auction?
Say, reverse auction is we actually work with a client to identify the suppliers that they would like to invite to the auction versus just opening up an auction to everyone. We do a proprietary work with them to make sure that those clients, those providers meet the client's needs, and then we invite them to the auction. And then at that point, then the suppliers that made the first cut can actually bid against each other for the business.
So are those among the reasons or the motivations that businesses engage AIQ?
Completely. Usually what they're looking for is we're dealing with clients who are actually at a point of stability or transition where they're actually looking for, they need to increase their EBITDA. They need to lower their expenses, manage their expenses. It could be because of any number of different reasons. Their sales could be slowing. They could be hitting a plateau. They could be looking to transact the business. But in today's economic environment, the most common things we hear is cash is tight. They want to actually free up some free cash flow. They have investments they want to make, and they don't want to have to go out and borrow money to fund those investments. Or the fact is they just think that maybe because of slowing growth, that they need to increase their EBITDA as a percentage of their total revenues to either increase their stock price or increase their valuation.
So are there specific technologies or fields of expertise that AIQ focuses on?
We actually don't specifically focus on any one area. We touch almost 100 different categories in IT and IT adjacent spend. That could be anything from your traditional IT, things like telecom, cloud, data center, even newer technologies such as CCaaS, managed security. But we also go into areas like managed BPO and outsourcing and billing costs and things like that. Anything that is around the technology field that can be touched and that there are multiple providers that can be brought together to create an auction on a market condition to benefit the client is within fair game. So we're doing almost 100 different categories of spend today.
So what is the process your company uses to help your clients lower costs and also harvest cash?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first thing we do is we come in and do an assessment with the client. So we pull their ERP data, and we do it in a very broad space. We don't limit it to anything. We don't want them actually concatenating the data. So we look at the holistic spend of the company under NDA. And then we do an evaluation based off of the fact that we're running these auctions every week and we have a decade plus worth of data. We can actually assess this area of this particular provider, this area of spend. They seem to be out of market in that area. And we do all of that for free for the client. We assess that. We sit down with them and we say, here's what we believe the market opportunity is. Then we sit and talk to the client about what are their project operationally. Are they migrating to cloud? Are they doing anything operationally? Do they have M&A activity that they don't want us to touch? So we try to isolate things that are going to be disruptive to their business because we want to be valued into their business. And then we work projects with them. We pull their contracts in conjunction with them. We look at their invoicing. We do all the hard work and the evaluation of what they're actually spending and with the flexibility inside of their contracts. So their contracts locked in for 3 years. We go through a very detailed process with them. We actually have a number of patents on them. And then we sit down with them and we identify very specifically where we think we narrow that scope of where we actually can go and get savings. And then we actually pick the areas, we break them, we call them categories. From those categories, we'll sit down, we'll identify what the requirements are technically, operationally, legally with that client, and then, or with the suppliers. Then we will go out and help find those suppliers. So we'll pull together our historical list of suppliers in that area. We'll also look for the client if they have recommendations. And then we vet the suppliers. Once that vetting process is done, we then bring those suppliers together for auction. That usually takes 2 to 3 weeks. And we will let the suppliers actually bid against each other for the business. And what we generally see is about a 40% reduction in the total spend on that category. In some cases, as high as 80 to 90% spend reduction.
Now, this is exciting news for a lot of our readers. AIQ has introduced a channel partner referral program.
Yes, yes. Having had many decades in the channel community, I know the value that all these partners out there actually have. So this is a unique style because we're not looking for the partner to actually go out and sell anything. We want them just to make the introductions to the senior executives. In a lot of cases, the CFO, CEOs, CIOs, senior executives inside the companies, where they think we can add some value. And then what we want to do is partner with those organizations and try to bring value and expand what the channel community will actually add into that relationship too. So they're bringing an added value resource, and that could be doing anything from just making the corporation more effective to actually freeing up funds that actually for other projects that they might have going on. So that reseller might actually have other areas that they can actually deploy that capital in conjunction with the client. So we wanted to bring those things together so we can actually create value on behalf of the supplier, and then they can get compensated for it.
And that's how it works. In other words, the partner refers a client. You guys basically work with the client, and then there's some compensation for it all.
Correct. We will pay the referral partner 10% of the fees that AIQ collects.
Besides commissions, do your partners receive any ancillary benefits from participating in the program?
They do. Number one, they get incremental insight into the total spend of the client. So they'll actually get more informed into what's going on with the client. But the other thing is they become a little bit, they increase that trusted advisor position that they're holding with the organization and their clients. So they can actually say, hey, we're bringing value, even though it's not something we're actually bringing to you. We're going to bring overall value in some areas. We also are seeing in the early stages some exposure to the partners who are actually referring business in the early stages because they're seeing areas that they don't have expertise in that they now can see are going on inside the IT organization. That could be anything like business process outsourcing, or that could be invoicing. These are very expensive pieces of the business that now they could potentially look at expanding their own portfolio. But the real value is that they're increasing their trust position with those suppliers, with those clients.
So, Blake, now that there's a channel partner referral program, how does it work with making sure that the partner's interests and so on are protected in terms of the path going forward for the customer itself?
Yeah, it's a great question, Doug. Um, the channel partner can actually be trusted based on our agreement that we are not going to disintermediate them and remove them out of the relationship. We want that to retain that relationship. They also they'll understand going into it that the organizations, if we decide to choose an area that they have actually accountability over, that they should be participating in that decision making with their client. So we don't want to take them out of that. One thing that AIQ does not do is make decisions on behalf of the client. That is actually all left up. We share data, we share ideas, but the decisions are all left up to the client. So that partner can actually play a role in that helping craft those decisions at that point with the client. But the other side of it is the way we've structured the agreement is if we continue to do projects over time, those partners are actually going to be retaining that relationship throughout that process. So we're not going to take them out of that relationship. We don't want to take over their relationship. We just want to actually facilitate getting the maximum out of what that client's spend is.
So you keep your customer, you're participating in this process, you're compensated for decisions the customer might make, and you can go forward.
Correct.
Is there a kind of ideal when the partners are looking out there, and for other people looking to talk to you, is there an ideal customer, an ideal company that you guys really do well with?
Yeah, that's a great question. Number one is we're generally looking at enterprise clients who have a tech-centric infrastructure. That could be anywhere from a software company to a logistics company, healthcare, et cetera. So anyone who is an enterprise client who has a tech-centric infrastructure. So they're going to be tech heavy. Number two is we generally look for clients who are actually about 100 million and plus in annual revenues. Then we have enough scale to be able to bring enough to auction. If they're too small, it's hard to create an auction in a competitive situation to optimize that spend. So you simply look at it, it's a $100 million plus enterprise client who has a very tech-centric infrastructure.
Well, Blake, I really want to thank you for joining me today. This has been very interesting to learn about your company, to learn about your reverse auction process, and some other things about how you help people move forward and save money, and also about your new partner referral program. Where can we learn more?
Thanks, Doug. I appreciate the time too. You can actually learn more on www.aiq.co or following us on LinkedIn.
Blake, I'm looking forward to the next time we talk about this, but for now, thanks very much for joining me today.
Thank you for the time, Doug.